Sometimes we forget this world is actually a hologram. But like anything, it has a certain order. It has its own laws. This world is as dead could be. We shouldn't even call it dead, because it would imply it was at some point alive, like a friend of Neville's once said. The energy that makes this world come alive is us. We are the operant power. We give it meaning, but as long as we are asleep, we don't know the laws of this place. And so we create chaos. Chaos in our life, chaos in the world. We are like a cork in the ocean, floating at the will of the waves, bouncing left and right, without knowing how to change things, getting blow after blow, hurt after hurt. We live in survival mode, without being able to rise our vibration and come above things. Now that we know the law of consciousness, we have to learn how to apply it. It is not enough to just read about it, talk about it, and repeat it like a parrot. You create your own reality. Great, but how? Imagine that you have what you want. Well, that is not enough. I do that, but then I see things going against my wish. It hurts me even more. It seems like a big deception. Yes, that is because it is. This world is what Neville called educative darkness. People usually take for granted when he says darkness. But look around. People are feeding their worst behavior, and we see it outpictured in this world. Many organizations say, "We will bring peace to the world, just give us your money." And they take it, and then nothing happens. Like Neville said, the world reflects this disturbance, and those in the world are being led like sheep to the slaughter. Forget about the world. Not only that, forget about your world. It is but a shadow. Why are we still reacting to what's going on? This is why I said, forcing ourselves to imagine something we don't really feel it's ours. It seems futile. We need to understand more to actually get this teaching. Man is represented in two Adams. I will probably make a video about the two Adams and explain it a little more, but mainly, there are two yous, the man of the flesh and the spirit of man. The flesh can only react to its senses, but that's not his biggest enemy. He reacts to his psychological state, morning, noon, and night. And he reacts to what he thinks. He believes what he thinks and takes it for granted without questioning it. The problem is not the thinking itself. The problem is that you believe what you're thinking. Have you ever questioned the state of consciousness that is running through you? Have you ever questioned a line of thought that pops into your head? What if I tell you your thoughts are not coming from you? That you're not thinking. You are being thought. You're being used by a state or program, and it's taking life and it's projecting itself in the screen of space. This is why it seems impossible to change our situation, even if we want to, badly. So how do we change things? Well, first, I would tell you, knowing this is already power. It is power, because you are the operating power. But you haven't been in control for a long time, perhaps. You have been reacting to the hologram instead of taking hold of your own power, your own dominion. So the hologram that is just being created by the collective unconscious is creating all kinds of scenarios, and as you can see, many are not very pleasant. Pay attention. Attention is everything, and I mean everything. Your life literally depends on it. Your sovereignty can never be taken back if you're magnetized. Yes, I use that word magnetized because actually we're hypnotized, yet again, by this world that is but a shadow of our internal world. And don't be fooled. This world was designed for that. Humanity, when asleep, creates in a hive mentality structure. I don't know if you've seen hives, but they act in groups, all collectively going to one way or the other. Society is built to make us think in a group thinking mentality. You have to belong to a country, a culture, a race, a religion, a party, etc., shaping our opinions and making us believe that they are of our own creation. And without noticing, we build the world for some small group of people exactly the way they want us to build it, and just for their own benefit. Well, like Neville would usually say, forget about all that. You have to become independent of the collective hive mind, of the human collective unconscious. When we detach ourselves from group thinking by establishing our own personal idea of who we want to be despite this shadow world, disregarding what they want us to think or how we should think, what our opinions should be, how we should act, and who should we become, we realize we're free, and more than ever before. And then is when we can actually perceive how much power we have recovered by just having this realization. When the world that is just a shadow tells you you could never achieve this or that, if what usually happens is that you have an inner emotional reaction accepting what you just heard, pay attention. You see, attention is everything. And stop right there in the middle of the emotion and ask yourself, is this true? Am I going to accept what I just heard? If you let that inner reaction take its course, then you'll be magnetized yet again by the shadow world and fall back asleep. And everything will happen, probably, just as they said. You will never become that. And not because it's not possible, but because you just accepted it. You accepted what the hologram just imposed on you. See how easy it is to let the shadow hologram take hold of our power and makes us go back to the small limited animal self? But if you stop that emotion right there when it's happening, and you ask yourself this simple question, am I going to accept what the hologram just stated for me? That I am never gonna make it? Just say no. Don't accept it. Refuse it with your own consent. To the shadow world, this would seem ridiculous. But if you believe in the power that you are, if you believe that you are I am, that is God, even though now it's playing a pretty difficult game on this earth, then you will do this. But here's the key. Most people may try this once, and they get excited. And then, after a while, they just lose faith. They don't believe in the substance called consciousness as the operating power. Usually at first, it's understandable, because we haven't tried this yet, often enough, to dictate how things should be and then see them manifested. That is when you really know you are that operating power. And that is why, especially at the beginning, you have to give it all to the invisible substance, this power. You have to give it all with your faith. You have to trust it. And you have to learn how to trust it. And not just by saying, I want to believe, or knowing this could be true, but by actually feeling that substance is in you. Because the substance is actually you. It is you. You can learn to tune into that sensation of being the center of your own life, the center of your own power. Once you start to reject what the shadow world tells you, how you should be, and that what happens in the world will happen to you, things will be felt differently. Watch. You will start to feel a detachment to the world events. Not because you don't care, but because you understood that there is only one thing and one thing only you can change. And that is yourself. This is the beginning of the second man, the spirit man, the God self man. There's this lecture, one of my favorites, that is called The Law of Identical Harvest. And Neville's friend, Louise, had an experience. She says, I went into the living room and here was Joseph reading the paper. And I told him what just happened. And do you know? He was just a shadow that talked. I looked at my husband And it's only a shadow, a talking shadow. That day I had to go out, and when I went down the street shopping, and everyone was but a shadow, talking shadows. The whole vast world was but a shadow. And so when we say, all that you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your own wonderful human imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow. Everything here seems so real. Cut it and it bleeds. It is only a shadow. So, when the world doesn't dictate what we should feel and what we should accept, we start to perceive a bigger and bigger independence from it. Try this. During the day, observe what you let in, what you accept. When something comes and says, this situation is like this, and there's nothing you can do about it, try feeling the sensation of, I don't accept this. I have dominion over my life, over my existence in this world. Try to feel that. You can say the words, but just actually try to feel this kind of power over your own life. To the world, this might look like nothing. That's some stupid little thing we do with our feelings. But don't forget, this world is not actually just material. This world is a structure of psychological vibration, which is information to which we react morning, noon, and night, accepting or rejecting. Don't see the material world as it is. Instead, try to perceive it as information. The negative side or the positive side, whether something is negative or positive for us, is actually added by us. Like Jesus said to his disciples, nothing is unclean in itself, but if anyone regards something as unclean, then for that person it is unclean. You have to realize first, you don't need to accept other people's opinions, or what the world tells you how you should think, what's possible, what isn't. All is perception. A shift in perception is a shift in your state of consciousness. And here's a clear example. This phrase sums it all up. Normal is an illusion. What is normal for the spider is chaos for the fly. You wouldn't tell a spider to change their nature, but we can change our nature. Humans are not condemned to one only nature. If you feel limited, it's only your state or programming, and it has become your nature. But the good news for us is that we can choose a different nature, the opposite nature of what we are right now. When you shift from an accepting, persuasive consciousness to a more centered, clear perspective consciousness, not of what you want, but of what you actually are, then watch the world. It will feel differently. You will move independent of what's going on in your life, your job, the rest of the world, whatever. You will feel that you are the center of creation of your own point of I am, the freedom from the chains of limitations. How to feel the new you? How to feel this power? How to start to see what's the old self to become the new self? I would suggest watch out for your biggest limitations. So how should we spot them? Observe what thoughts feel like a contraction. Like there is a wall saying, this is as far as you can get. Those are going to be your biggest test. And for last, consider this. It's not that you're afraid of failure. It is actually that you might be afraid of becoming something bigger than what you actually are. Of becoming something bigger than what you already know. So, with this, I would like to say thank you all for listening. And if you like my material, you can subscribe to the channel and click on the bell for notifications. See you next time.